Greetings, listeners, and welcome to On the Spectrum podcast, a show that explores the many complexities and diversities of being on the spectrum. We are your hosts, David and Lorena.
Hello.
And today we are talking about all the wonderments and the challenges that come with being a sibling of someone who is neurodiverse. And joining us today, we have Emily and Amy.
Hi.
Amelie and Amy. Amelie and Amy?
It's Amelie.
Amelie, sorry.
Close
we have
enough.
Amelie. We have Amelie and Amy joining us today. Thank you very much for coming, guys.
No worries.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, why not? You'll do a better version of the introduction.
What do you want to know?
Whatever you want to tell us.
So I'm Amy, and I have a younger brother who is neurodiverse. So he was diagnosed quite late with autism. He kind of slipped through the net. But I say he's my younger brother, but he's 23 now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, had quite, I've sort of grown up with it. So yeah.
Amelie.
Amelie.
What do you want to tell us about yourself?
I'm 10 and my brother was 8 when we found out that he was autistic. Uh-huh. It's been quite hard for him and he thinks that he can just do everything by himself and always make it in life. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that he really does need help, but he doesn't realise it.
Okay, that's fine. But you have another sibling, have you? How old is she or he?
She's called Ava and she's 8.
8, okay. And how old is Callum?
He is 20.
20, nice. Right. So to start with, whoever that wants to pick up the question, so tell us about a little bit your sibling, so Callum and Ben. What do they like? What they are good at? Because I'm sure they are good at many things. What they find difficult. So tell us, do you want Amelie to start or do you want Amy to start? Amy.
Do you want me to start?
Definitely.
That's fine. So how would I describe Ben? So I would say his strength and what he really likes doing is bike riding. So that was something that like my dad introduced to him, well, to both of us, like when we were like really, really young. And if you were to see him on a bike, you wouldn't think that he has autism or that he's got learning difficulties. You honestly wouldn't think it at all. Like, he is amazing. He's also got an amazing sense of direction. Like, he definitely got that gene that I didn't pick up, because he'll sit on his laptop and he's able to like click through. So, on Google Maps and you can see like from the street view. So he'll like click through and go. He's able to go places that he's been in the car, like with my parents, like where they've taken him. It might be like his old junior school that he went to, like he's able to like click through, or even go down to Poole, because that's where my grandparents live. And he's able to like, he knows the routes of places. Like if we ask him, so what motorway do you need to go on? He'll be like M3.
So having a sat nav.
Yeah, yeah, literally. And I didn't get that gene at all. I have no sense of direction at all. So yeah, I'd say those are his strengths. And also he's got like an amazing sense of humour, like amazing. But I'd say what he finds difficult is moving from one thing to another. So especially, which is why he's in a residential provision now, is he really struggled with like the transition from home to school. So there was like difficulties getting out of the car. What else does he find difficult? He can get overwhelmed in certain situations as well, if it's sort of the typical sensory difficulties that we know that they experience. So if there's loads of people and it's really busy, so for example, we used to be able to go like abroad on holidays when he was younger, but then we had to stop at a certain point because he just found it really difficult. And I guess, with airports, it's really bright, like there's loads of people.
Noise.
Yeah, so he struggled with that. But yeah, I would say those are his two main things. But yeah, has an amazing personality. So yeah, definitely shines through, which makes it really nice as a sibling to have like that relationship with him, because I know that some can struggle with that. What about you?
Amelie, tell us about Star Wars. Someone said to us that.
So Callum, he likes to make YouTube videos, which he started, and that's really calmed him down since he has been all stressed out and worried what he's going to do in life. But then once he learnt that he could do that on his uncle's computer, he has just been more happy and he's been more talkative. But his other strength is that he can start conversations really well, and it's really nice to see him smile all the time. But then what happens is when we're somewhere, he stopped coming on holidays with us as he's got overwhelmed really easily. He really likes to stay home though, but he's had difficulties with his friends and how they've all been leaving each other to go their separate ways, and he just needs help to communicate, but he can't really because he's worried what they're going to say to him. So yeah.
And you said that he likes the Star Wars, does he? And what he does with Star Wars, he watches videos or he makes the videos?
He makes the videos so he can at least he thinks he'll be able to have a place in the world, and he does it, but he thinks he's going to be rich and famous, but it might not happen, which is quite sad as well.
Okay.
But he's still doing something he loves to do, isn't he?
Yeah.
So that's nice, and it's positive for him, isn't it? Yeah.
Do you think that is helping as well to connect with other people, that they like the same things?
Yeah. He's tried to sometimes, but he's just so worried about communicating with other people. But the good thing is that as he works in a shop, he has a lot of friends now, and he can just go around to everybody in our hometown and say, "Oh hi," whatever your name is, "Oh hi," and they start a conversation, and it just goes on and on.
And he can remember everybody's names. Oh wow,
That's good.
That's amazing.
that's another game I didn't pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm not very good with names.
Not my cup of tea. That's fine. And you were talking about before about the tiki monkey. Tell us about that.
So
what is that?
He likes this monkey called Le Monkey, which is supposed to be the king of the jungle, and he loves Le Monkey because he won't stop talking about him and how chunky he is. And it just he's been like talking about him a lot, but he always gets these new habits, like, so he has one thing, monkey, and then next he moves on to a game called Dead Space, and then next he'll move on to like Shrek, and then next he'll move on to, I don't know, something in the world that's funny. Which is very nice.
So he's quite passionate about these things.
Yeah,
he wants to talk about them a lot.
He can't stop talking about them.
I see.
It's sometimes annoying, but it's nice both ways.
Nice, because you feel like you know just as much as him, I suppose, at this point. Yeah.
A lot more.
That's right. When did you find out that Ben and Callum were autistic, and how did it affect you guys as siblings? So what happened when that news came to the family?
So I wasn't born yet when we found out that Callum was autistic. It was when he was 8, and he always went to the birthday parties, but he just sat on my mum's lap.
Okay.
And when he was a baby, he never cried. He would just keep staring at my mum. And my mum thought this a bit weird, so she took him to get diagnosed, and turns out he had autism. And so, yeah, that's how we found out.
And then you were told, do you remember when you were told and you were explained by mum and dad?
I was told when I was like 7 years old.
Okay. Do you remember that day?
No, but I remember I didn't understand them. But
You didn't understand?
I didn't understand them before because I didn't know what it was like for autistic people, so I just didn't really care as I was about 2 years old. But I became aware of it because he always went out the room when it was too noisy, and I asked the parents about it, and so they told me.
Okay, good. Amy, you?
So that's a really good question. So because I was the older sibling, so there's 3 years between us, and I think, so basically my mum said that the first time, like there were milestones that he missed, I think, like when he was like a baby, and then she said that it was a babysitter or a childminder that initially brought it up, that I think that there might be some signs and that you should maybe take him to see a GP or something. So I think my mum did, and I think first off, he got the diagnosis of like global developmental delay and learning difficulties. So we always knew there was that side of it. And I think growing up, because from an older sibling perspective, I could tell maybe like his speech wasn't the same as maybe other children his age. And he always went to special schools. So I sort of always knew that he had learning difficulties, but he didn't get the actual diagnosis of autism until not that long ago, actually. I think, as I mentioned earlier, he just massively slipped through the net, and I can't remember how old he was. I think it was before he went into his first residential place, and that was just before COVID, I think. So that was 2019. So I'd say maybe he got the diagnosis 2017, 2018.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was,
like he was nearly an adult.
Yeah, like really late. But it makes so much sense now. But I think as well, back then, the knowledge and the education around autism isn't the same as what it is now.
Yes.
Like there's so much more awareness around it now that I think it would have been picked up quicker. But yeah.
Do you think that if it would have been picked up quicker, something would have been different?
Yeah, I do, because I think even from like a parent perspective, because I think there's not a lot of support out there for parents in terms of, okay, your child's got this diagnosis and they're given it, but there's not necessarily, okay, well, what does that mean? And like, what does that mean, like, for you as a family? Like, what kind of support needs to be put in place? Like, for example, just simple things that, because obviously I've like worked in it professionally as well, like things like visual schedules, like ear defenders, like knowledge of that transitions are difficult. Like, I think having that knowledge would have made so much difference, especially now, because my dad took so many home videos of when we were younger, and now looking back at them, and from an adult perspective, I can now see it really clearly. Like, like it's so clear, and it's quite sad to see as well, because you could see like the communication difficulties that he had, and I think that if like the visuals were put in place so much earlier, I think it would have helped. I don't think necessarily it would have been like leaps and bounds to where he is now, but I just think maybe it could have prevented the distress that he felt.
Could have given that extra support, for communication and things.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I just sort of grew up with it. I didn't really know I didn't know any different. Yeah.
I think as we were talking about with Amelie as well, that she said to Dad that this is how my family has been all the time, isn't it? You said to that like there's no, I didn't feel any different, but it's fine, because sometimes I think that things comes out, thoughts comes out or come out, experiences come out, and then we have families or siblings listening in the other side, and they might think, oh, actually that happened to me, or this is how I feel, and it's good that they know that they are not on their own. And I think that's why we did the podcast, and we are doing the podcast, is to come out and say you are not on your own, and it's what you say, is make people aware that this happens, and if we can prevent things earlier, if we can support people earlier, much better. Any question? Anything else that you can add? Sorry, I don't know if I...
No, it's okay. No, I was going to add something to what you said. What did you?
I was gonna say, like, when you talk about family traveling, because I mean, I guess that I travel to Spain quite a lot as well. And then if we are doing something and all of a sudden it's like, why we cannot do this anymore?
Yeah.
Why it was working before and it's not working anymore? Why it was going well and it's not going well anymore? Because I guess as parents you make these questions, and the problem is that you don't know what to do. What is wrong? What to do? Why? But at the same time, the environment out there is not probably the most friendly environment. Because I've been in airports and then it's like,
there's a lot going on in airports.
Lights, noise, people pushing here, there. It's like when you're like, at 7 a.m, I'm not a morning person. I've got communication barriers as well if I don't have a coffee.
No, definitely. Because I think I saw it sort of growing up, like the difficulties that would happen and how he would struggle. So I think I sort of made sense of it. But when you said, that's it, you said of like the reason of the podcast of like not feeling alone and things is because I think that is really important, because when I was at school, there was no one that really had looking back, no one sort of had a sibling like Ben. Like no one could relate. Like they were all really lovely. Like I remember the girls that sort of I was friends with at school, they were always like so good with him.
Do they understand?
So good question. I think they knew that he had like learning difficulties and he needed extra support, but I don't think they necessarily knew what it was that he had. But they were always like so lovely with him. And even like growing up, and me and Ben would go to like holiday care schemes like during the summer, and we would both go together. And I remember even then, like the kids were so good with him, which I think massively helped, even though they didn't have sort of the knowledge of what it was. Like they were always really good with him, which was really nice. But there would be the odd comment at school that people might make that was quite difficult. So that's something I did struggle with in school. But I guess like looking back, I think it is just the lack of awareness and knowledge around it. Like I think if they really understood what is going on, they wouldn't have made those comments. But yeah, that is definitely something I struggled with.
Amelie, how are your friends with Callum? Have they met them?
Yeah, they're actually good with Callum because as he works in a shop, they see him every day and they normally have a conversation with him. And in school, they're like, your brother's really nice. He's kind, and we get that he might have a learning disability, but we still like him whether or not. And they just go up to him and you can just see how it makes him feel when he comes home. He's like, all your friends are really nice, and it's just good to see that they're getting along.
Okay, that's nice. Very good.
So we talk about sort of family dynamics now, and how your siblings sort of affect how you run things in your house, and whether there's anything where you have to sort of cater towards his needs to give him that extra support. And I just wanted to go into that category and see if there's anything there that you sort of, because you've grown up with it, is there anything that you particularly have to do around the house, or the way that the family unit works?
Yes, so normally we have to, it's quite hard for Ava to understand, so if there's noises, Callum has to go away, but Ava doesn't understand that.
Okay.
And he normally gets up at like 10 o'clock and comes up, but he doesn't really know when he's hungry or not.
Okay.
So it's quite hard for him as well, and if we're doing him dinner or lunch, because he doesn't really know if he's going to work or not, so we have to set him at a board to know when he's doing things. We have this board for him, and so yeah, that's what we do.
Who's on the board?
It's all about what Callum's doing. It's like when he's going to college or when he's doing his work.
Okay, and it's like photos or symbols, or how is the word or words?
It's words at like what time, like 6 to 10 or...
Okay.
Can you see that when he looks at that, he's more comfortable with what he's doing that day? So
Yeah.
it just helps him sort of
It helps him
focus.
understand what he's going to do, if he can go into town or go out with his friends if they're free.
Okay.
That's great.
And what happened when he gets upset? Because someone told me that you're really good at helping him out.
So when he gets upset, he just goes into his bedroom and doesn't say anything, but I help him out by talking to him and understanding him, or playing games with him.
Okay, and what do you play with him?
We play things like Smash Bros, which is one of his favourite games, or he likes me to watch him playing Assassin's Creed or things like that.
Nice.
So he likes his video games then?
Yeah, or he likes to show me his videos so far.
Oh, okay. That's
And
lovely.
yeah,
Is that what he does on his YouTube channel then? Is it all
Yeah.
video games and that?
It's so he has this thing called Gary's Mod, which he uses where he can make characters move.
Oh,
And
okay.
like he's made one about a sandwich and somebody drowning a sandwich, so they got arrested, which is very nice.
And do you help your sister to understand that Callum needs like a quiet moment, or he needs his time? Do you help her?
I do like tell her to stop, but normally she doesn't, and she goes into beast mode and tries to attack me. That happens all the time.
It's probably because he's small eyes and she's little.
Yeah, she doesn't really understand what he's going through.
That's fine. Sibling that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Amy, how things are at home? Because I think you and me had a conversation in a car in one of these long journeys that sometimes we do a lot. And then this conversation about the siblings came out, and definitely we talk about the dynamics in the family, and sometimes how you feel a little bit aside. I don't know if that's the word. I don't want to put words in your mouth, guys. I want you to express that, and I want you to be the one explaining that. But I think we had that conversation because it's like a contradictive feeling. Is it like I love him at the same time? Sometimes it's like, it's my time now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think how I can describe it is, so I saw this term actually like on social media not that long ago, and I think it sums it up like perfectly. It's not necessarily specific to siblings of those that maybe have autism or learning difficulties, but also those that maybe have siblings that struggle with their mental health or substances, or they just need more support in general. I think it was called something like you're a glass child, and I saw that and it really fitted, because it's like, it's as if like you're see-through and it's like they're the main focus. Does that make any sense? Like as the siblings, like we're like glass children, because it's like people can see, not because they mean to, but it's like people see through us.
I think it's kind of natural though, isn't it? If they have more needs, then you kind of feel like more attention gets brought upon them, because they've got to constantly think about things like the board, or things of that nature, where you have to focus on these things because these things have to happen. And in a way it can be sort of complimentary, as in like, well, they're fine, we know that they're going to be cool and they're independent and stuff, but I understand that sometimes you don't want to have that feeling like that you're see-through.
Yeah, exactly. I think you summed it up really well as well, because I think it is that conflict of what we spoke about, because it's like, I know why he needs that support, and I completely understand it. Like I'm not upset because I know it's needed. I think it's just always, there's those two sides of me of like, I know it's needed and I completely understand it, and I'm on board with it as well. Like I want the best for him, like how we're all like centered around him and want the best for him. But then there's also like the sibling side of me that's like, oh, like what about me, sort of thing.
Today's my day.
And I do get it, because it's what you said, like my parents obviously like, like she's cool, like she's got it, like, so I think it is nice in a way that they obviously they think that like I'm independent and I've got myself, which I have, but at the same time, no matter how old I am, there's still that part of you that's like, oh, like just like my mum and dad. So
I guess that is normal, like, because you were one day a little girl where you like you were 10 as something is now, and I guess that sometimes it's like I want my mom and dad look at me not through me, at me. And I want them to see that I'm here as well. I need things that I do things well, and sometimes I don't. You see, like sometimes I make mistakes, but I want them to see me as how I am. And then I guess it's difficult now as an adult because we work as well in an autistic school, and then we were in the sex exam, we understand, and then it's like I do understand what they need, I do understand why, but at the same time it's like that little child inside that is like, yes, but I'm still here.
Exactly. I think you summed it up really well. It's something that I think now as an adult especially, like I've reflected on even more, because I think as well it's sort of realising as well, because I know like growing up, and I'm sure you probably think the same, that like it is normal, but then you think back as an adult and you're like, actually like it kind of sucked. like I think back, like I
say it.
Like obviously I'm so glad we got to go on those holidays for the time being, and like we got to go, and we did have that opportunity to a time. But it's like I think back to like what the people I went to school with, like how like their relationship with their siblings, and like how they got to live life. And I think as well from seeing it like from my parents' perspective, like how much of their life they've needed to give up to support him. And it's no one's fault, and like there's no resentment there at all, but I think it is realising like, oh, like we've actually had to give up like a lot. And I think as well it's a weird, not dynamic, but at the same time like I do have a sibling, but at the same time it feels like I was an only child, because I don't have another. It's weird, because I had obviously the benefit of like, maybe not the benefit, but I had the really good side of having a sibling, like growing up together, like having that like young sibling to play with, so I had that side of it. But then that doesn't sort of translate into the adult side of having a sibling relationship.
I see.
It's more of like a carer. Like we are obviously we are brother and sister. Like I'll always be there for him. Like I've always got him. Like no matter what. But it is that sort of care. It is a carer dynamic. It's not like a level playing field sibling. It's not an equal sibling like relationship, which I've been needing to like navigate as we've gotten older. But
Something interesting. We'll talk about that later a little bit more. Do you want to add anything, Amelie?
No.
No?
No, you're okay for that one. Cool.
Right.
So should we talk about how having a sibling with autism has impacted your perspective as well, and about how, because I know that working with people with special needs, they do give you so much back, personality-wise and sense of humour and things like that, and you do get a lot of engagement, and you learn things about yourself by working with them. So I'm just wondering if having someone with autism in your family, whether that's changed the way you look at the world, and how people can be different.
It has changed my way how I look at the world, because having an autistic brother makes me think that people are lucky to not have a disability, and how they don't need extra like treatment or much help, and it's quite overwhelming for people who have disabilities, but people who don't are quite lucky. And people should really see that they aren't autistic themselves.
So being thankful. Very good.
That's a really good answer. That's a really good answer. I don't know how I can follow that. Pressure is on. I think the exact same as you. I think as well. I definitely think I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for him, like 100%. Like I think it translated it's translated into like my like career as well. So I think like it's just shown me like a whole new world. Not to quote Aladdin or anything, but no, like a whole new world. Like I didn't even know sort of existed. Like, for example, I didn't even know that there were residential schools for children with autism. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing until, my parents like went to tribunal and things to get Ben into his residential place. So I think like it was my interest like in college, like doing psychology, which then led to like working in special educational needs, because I think I thought like, if it's in my personal life, can I also do it as a job as well? But
transferable skills, and it's a passion as well.
So I did that for like a few years, and I definitely think I wouldn't have been able to do that job without having Ben as a sibling. I don't know what I would have gone into, which is now, to be fair, led into now I work in sort of the more mental health side of things. But I definitely think I wouldn't be where I am today without him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amelie, what do you want to be when you are older? What would you like to work in?
I would like to do like art or be an architect, because that could help people with no homes, or it could help people with learning disabilities.
Okay. Yeah, because they're
there's art therapy and things.
Into the buildings, and then
or like teach people with disabilities how to do art, so they could learn how, so it could help them think of a career.
It's lovely. Nice. And you enjoy doing art yourself, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You like doing it a lot. Yes. Yes. Your father told us about the mess you left in the house with all the paints. But that's something that you'd like to teach them as well, because if it makes you feel better, don't you think it will help people that have autism as well, if they can express themselves in art? Yeah.
Art, it's basically what you think and how you can present it in the ways that you want. Of like, if you feel different ways, you can just, like the girl with the balloon, that was for children with disabilities, which was presented, of her letting go of a heart balloon.
Well, that's lovely. Like the meaning behind it as well. Yeah, and I think that's why people find it really comforting to do that stuff, because stuff that's in your head and you can make it real.
Yeah. That's why I like art.
It's lovely.
Good. Do you remember any particular difficult moment, or a really good moment, or difficult moments, like challenges that came at home? So for you, it would be challenges, Amy. For Amelie, it would be like a difficult moment that you remember, or a really good one.
I don't actually have very difficult moments with him, but there's one that I think might have been difficult, of him trying to do things on his own and not listening, but he ended up having to, because it was bad for him, as he just kept trying to do it by himself, but he didn't know that could affect him and how much he needed help in his life. They don't really realise it, but...
And who went and helped?
We did, me and my parents as a family, to help him out of what he wants to do when he's older, and the difficulties that he's gone through, which he does not realise, to be where he is. But he doesn't appreciate that he's here now and he's got his dream running up, like his YouTube channel, but he just needs to realise that he's not going to become rich or famous, but he's
determined. He wants to be rich and famous.
He's trying not to say it, but we all know that he wants to be. He thinks that he can post one video up and he has, I don't know, 1 million subscribers at once. And he expects a lot more from that when it might not happen.
Okay. So we need to work on that.
And he needs to realise that there's lots of work as well that he needs to do to get all those views and things. But he wants to focus on the videos, but there's lots of other stuff.
He's watched this person called SMG4, which is one of his favourite YouTubers, and he keeps on saying SMG4 started when he was 11. Why didn't I do this before? And he says to me, because I do art, that well done for finding out what you wanted to do earlier. I think you're going to make it better than me in life, which I don't believe. He's done well, but he doesn't realise at all.
See, well, he's still trying to be supportive though in what he's saying, isn't he? Yeah, and he's obviously very proud of you.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Well, you have a long years in front of you to find out
Exactly.
what to
Yeah.
do, easy. That's fine. He will pick up.
He wants to learn how to be like, there's a game called Assassin's Creed, and he wants to learn how to do parkour, and he's like, oh, why didn't they teach us this in years when I was at school? Which annoys him, because he wants to be able to jump on houses and be like, he's even got like these hidden blades, which is like, it's quite, but like, he's even got a body armour for motorbikes when he doesn't drive one.
He will realise. I think you're doing amazing, didn't you?
He thinks he will be like an assassin. I don't, but he wants to be Batman for some reason. He's training to be Batman, so when we're in the kitchen, he's coming out of the shadows. He's like, hello. And we're like, oh my god.
Sounds like he has lots of fun.
Yeah, he does.
Any particular challenges that you face as a sibling or as a family, if you remember, or joys or good things?
Yeah, so I'd say the main challenges that we have experienced was his sort of aggressive behaviour that he can show. Like, because there have been particular periods where he really struggled when he was maybe around a teenager, and especially as well during COVID as well, because he'd gone to his residential provision and then they needed to shut it, so then he came home, probably didn't know what was going on, why
with all
he
those
was
transitions happening. Yes.
Yeah. And then
COVID.
Yeah, and so he wasn't able to go out either. So I think he really struggled with that. Which I think we all did, to be fair, but especially for him, because at least we had the understanding of maybe why it was happening, whereas he just thought there's been a change and I have no idea why and I don't know what is going on. So he would get quite angry and sort of show, like aggressive behaviour, like he's got like my dad to the ground like by his hair and has like done it to me, and there's been like times when I've needed to go into work and there's been like scratches on my face and things. So I'd say that is the main challenge, but I think the main difficulty from that was that I think understanding it, because it wasn't in his nature. Like from even when he was younger, he was never necessarily aggressive. Like it was only when he really struggled that we would see that side. So I think sort of coping with that, but I think him going to residential provision really helped with that. But I think then the challenge from that was like the acceptance. Well, I think seeing it from my parents, of them accepting that they can't cope with him at home anymore. Like dropping him off at the very first time was really hard. Like I remember seeing my mum crying like when like we dropped him off, and that was really hard. But I'd say the good part is like how much he can make us all laugh. And it's like a joint thing as well. And I know they say that like when you meet one child with autism, like you've met one child with autism, and it's just so true. Like, because I know that there are some like, not myths, but I know some people think like, oh, sometimes people who have a diagnosis of autism like don't, like they struggle to have a sense of humour, but like that is not him at all. Like he'll just say, he can just be so cheeky sometimes, and he knows like what he's saying. And yeah, he's just able to make us all laugh. Yeah, he is cheeky, but it's really nice because I think I don't say that makes it worth it, but I know the difficulties that can come along with like supporting a child or young person with sort of moderate to severe autism, that it can be difficult to have that bond with them, not to come out in the wrong way, but because he has such an amazing personality, it makes it so much easier. Yeah, bless him.
I think probably what happened a lot on is like, you need to find, I always say to people when they come know, it's like, guys, you need to find the click. It's like they have a switch. The problem is that the switch is not always what you expect it to be. So you just need to find the switch. It's finding those things that they like. It's finding, I think sometimes at some point you feel the click actually, like something has connected. And they're like, oh, because he's responding at you. It's like, I think that happens to the children that we have a lot of, because they're not verbal. But those ones that they are verbal, I think it's the same. It's looking for that.
Yeah, and it's usually those personality traits, isn't it?
Which I need to put in there. And then there we go. Is when you feel that it's with you, and we forget that they have personality. Do they like it? And they are amazing.
I mean, that's where the clicking comes in, isn't it? Is with their sense of humour and things like that. I think that's what sort of shines through. And I think that sometimes I click with kids when I'm working at Loddon School, but sometimes I think it's like a slow sort of like a light switch slowly turning on, and then you slowly get into their world, because some of their worlds are very abstract, and that's the other thing, is that we see the world in this way, but they see it in a different way, and sometimes you just need to kind of invade that space a little bit if they're comfortable with you being there, and then you can start to understand them a bit more.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think there's a lot in what you said about them, you getting used to being in their world as well. Like that's definitely true for Ben as well. Like when new people come into the house, he'll be shy, and he's even said this, what I mean, when he has like a good sense of humour, because someone might come to the house, we'll be like, Ben, like come say hello, he'll be like, I'm shy. And we're like, come on. So I think it takes him a while to get comfortable, but once he is, like, he'll ask you for things. And I think what's come to my head now about the sense of humour side of things, so one thing that he might do is he might like get a snack from the cupboard or something, and that maybe he's not supposed to have, or like he's got like, because he always come to me as well, if he wants a snack, like he'll come to me first. I'm like, I wonder why, because like, you know that mum will say no. And then he might do it, like got a snack and he'll be eating it, and he'll look at like whoever he's with, he might point at you and then like do that, and then we'll be like, but you're the one that's eating the snack, not us, like don't project it onto us, like we know what you're doing. But yeah, it's just like, that's like a good example.
Callum does that all the time in the shop.
Does he?
So he gets things for free as he works there. And he has this giant black bag, and in it there's always something, like these giant bags of sweets that our family share, and he goes to the house and then he's like, I'm doing nothing, and he just walks in and we're like, what's in the bag? And he's like, and he just goes into his room. And then one time when I was playing video games with him, I saw that there was a packet of Oreos in there, like some Lucasade, and
is he not sharing with you and says to you like,
no, he's just like, these are mine, I'm keeping them. No. And it's always funny when he likes to, as the black bag, when he brings it home, as he tells nobody, he normally brings a cover-up such as he gets something else like a sandwich and puts maybe like a reduced sticker on it to make it look like he hadn't bought it. So then he wouldn't get, caught out, which is very funny, which I love about him. Which is just...
I was thinking, listening to you, it's like a question probably popped out in my head. Normally the siblings, we are the ones that they know about girlfriends and boyfriends and things like that, and then you are the secret one, like, I'm seeing a guy or a boy, you know, like, and mum and dad don't know, don't tell them, kind of thing. Have they said something about that at the stage of thinking about partner somehow?
Callum said that once a year ago. So he used to have this friend called, I think it was Sophie or something like that. And he said, me and Sophie are good friends. We're going to the movies or something. But then he stopped seeing them as she went somewhere else to a different college.
Okay.
And
you were the secret keeper. So mum and dad are not supposed to hear this, yeah?
No, they they knew about it, and my dad just used to joke about it, and it was like, "Ooh, Sophie's coming," and it was just his face. It would be like. But it was just funny after, because then he'd like lighten up and he'd joke back at him, which is very nice to see.
How's Ben?
I would say because of his sort of the severity of his autism and sort of the additional learning difficulties as well, I think that a side that I'm not going to get to like see, which is sad, to be fair. Like, but like growing up, when he maybe was at school and he was at college, like if he had a favourite support worker, like we would sort of know, or like if there was a girl that he got on with, like who was in his class, like you'd be able to pick up on it. But no, that is something that I think. From a parent perspective, and maybe more so from a parent perspective than a sibling perspective, but I guess when you realise how severe their needs are, that you like mourn the person that they could have been. So like the sense that like he's never going to be able to learn to drive, like, and he loves going out in the car, so he would have like loved that. Like he's not going to get married, like he's not going to get to have his own family. So I think from that side of things, it's hard. But yeah, I would have loved to have that side of things. Definitely would have kept a secret for him as well.
He's definitely going to be a favourite uncle if you have kids.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Yeah, how is it with your partners?
How is Ben when I brought boyfriends to the house and stuff? Good question. He's the same with everyone, to be fair. So he starts like being shy, but then once he like gets comfortable, he'll start like when you're starting to like get in with him, because he might ask you to do something, or he'll like say their name, or like if he wants your attention and he's being a bit lazy, he might like come and get you, or like tap you and then be like come here. That's a good question, because like growing up there has been a few that I've like introduced him to, and he's always like taken it in his stride, really. Not to say that there were loads, but
another secret.
But no, whenever I have, yeah, he's dealt with it really well. It's never really been an issue. I think maybe there has been times when I think like he might have said like an ex's name, like maybe asking like, oh, what happened to them, because maybe there's but you're introducing him, like what happened to the last one?
Or he's made that association with that person.
So like one week you have one, in the next week you're like, no, not in the next.
Not that bad. Don't tell anyone.
So we're talking about keeping the secret about love, and then if your brothers are in that position, and that question came to my head because we normally tend to think about many stigmas and misconceptions about autism, and one of them is they don't love people, they are not interested in having a partner or like a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and that is wrong, because we can tell that people with autism end up in couples and they can build a family, etc. So did you find any stigma or a stereotype that people had told you, and not knowing that you had knowing that you had a sibling with autism, and you were like, wait a minute there, let me clarify this? Did they say something?
I know once that somebody said to Callum that you're not going to make it in life as you have disability, which got him upset, but I calmed him down, which was quite hurtful for him as he was starting to make his first video then, but he still kept going because he said, there's no such thing as try, just do. And if people bring you down, don't listen, just keep going.
Wow, well done. And did you say something to that person?
I didn't know who it was, but I said to people in my school just to be aware of people that have disabilities and how they could feel.
Yeah, good. Amy?
Another
knockdown, yeah? Yeah.
You can't carry on from that.
You've set the
Maybe
bar
teach us
high.
for the next one.
Is it going to be Aladdin again?
No, maybe not another Disney film. No. Good question. I think just in life in general, like you do hear maybe people who don't know much about autism, that people do say things like, so I know I touched upon it earlier, like maybe not having a sense of humour, or things like they're not very good at either like being in tune to others' emotions, and I would say that could be true to an extent, but there are times when like I've been upset or my mum's been upset, like we've been crying or something, and Ben has come up to us and like been like, in the way he says it, he'd be like, what's up? Like, so he does have that side of thing, like,
or he certainly recognises it.
Yeah, like he may not necessarily, but I guess because of his learning difficulties as well, he wouldn't really know how to support, but I've definitely seen it from him, like he does have like a very caring side to him, but yeah, in terms of I would say those are the only stereotypes really. I think the thing I find most difficult is when people use like, so for example, I remember when I was in school and they were talking about, it came up in conversation, like the school that my brother went to, and they just used like a really, I don't even like to repeat it, but it was like a really politically incorrect like word for like those maybe with autism or learning difficulties and things like that, and that was really like hard to hear. I remember that happened a few times throughout school, and I remember it happened as well in a science lesson, and I just had to like, was it English or science? I think it was a science lesson. I had to go out because I just started crying because it's like, it's really hurtful, and I don't think people understand how hurtful it can be.
They don't get the impact.
No, they don't.
When it's not a personal thing to them, they don't.
Yeah, they don't get it at all. And it's even happened like where people have used that word like, or words like that, even when I was at uni as well. And I think being an adult, like it is not easier to cope with, but I guess there's more like reasoning of being like, well, not to excuse it, but like they're probably just saying because they don't understand. Like if they were in the situation, they wouldn't say things like that. But I think there is a long way to go in terms of the general acceptance. Like I don't think society in general is very autism friendly, isn't very like if you're different, mental health wise, if you're different, like it's not very like forgiving or accepting, and I think we've still got a long way to go. Like just because, like I know I said the reason why, they're probably saying it's because they don't have that experience or don't understand, but I think there could be more about that actually some people do go through that, and you should be a bit mindful of what you say. But I don't know, that's what I found personally the most difficult, and that did have like a big impact on me.
Yeah, because they're not seeing the big picture, that it's a spectrum and that there's lots of different variants involved in how a character will turn out in the end, and that you can't just label them with this and that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was reading on social media the other day, like things like don't use I'm a little bit OCD, or I'm a little bit autistic, or I'm a little bit. It's like, guys, don't say that as a joke, or as a I'm a little bit whatever. That's mental health conditions. That's some of the things that we say is a mental health condition that people suffer, and people that they are there, they have difficult moments, and they went through or they go through difficult moments. Don't use it as I'm a little bit like a joke, or
because again they're only seeing like one thing,
a characteristic of you, thinking that it's something, I don't know, that you are being, but you become, you're telling them something positive in your convenience, but then society punishes them or treats them like not as positive as they should. That doesn't make sense. Like we have like a double moral.
Yeah, because the OCD thing, you know, everyone thinks that means I must be neat and tidy and all this sort of stuff. But my wife has OCD, and it's very different in reality. Yeah. In reality, it's about a sort of having repetitive thoughts and things, and sometimes it comes out as I want this to be a particular way, but there's actually it's a lot more complicated than that. Yeah. And because they're just seeing that one thing, I can understand why they might just say, "Oh, I'm a little bit OCD" or what have you. Yeah, but when they see the big picture about what they're actually expressing, they wouldn't do it.
It's like people saying stop acting blind, like when you can't see something, which is a bad thing to say, because people are going through things that, like, they might be blind and it might be really hard for them, but people just say things like, "Oh, are you autistic or what?" And that's just, it's rude to other people.
Do children say that at school?
Some people say it's just not. Yeah.
No, it's not right.
We had someone here who was autistic, and he said that got said to him when he was at school as well. And they said, "Oh, what's wrong with you? Are you autistic?" Like it was something wrong, you know. And I think that's the perspective that needs to shift: is that there's nothing wrong with this person; they just think in a different way. Yeah, and that's all it is.
People just need to feel what it's like to have a disability.
Yeah. Thinking about adults, probably Amy, that's more for you. How can we put that? Even though I warned you before. So you are in the position now that you know that, so we grow up, and then I think we talk about that, like you normally, if you have a sibling, people get married, have kids or not have kids, so they have the continuum of life. Is it like we become biggies, and then we need to do bigger people
big people things.
Grown up stuff.
Sometimes when you have a sibling with learning disabilities, things change a little bit, and I guess how these change, especially bearing in mind, and I don't want to be negative, I think it's life, that your parents won't be there forever. Yeah. How does it look like for you, or how is projecting for you from that side?
Good question. Yeah, it's hard, because I know what's coming, and I know, like, because how things are at the moment, my parents have been amazing, like my dad's like sole focus is make sure that Ben's getting what he needs, and it's like a full-time, it is a full-time job basically for him, making sure that Ben gets what he needs, and in fairness, he has been amazing, how he's gotten Ben what he needs so far, but I am aware that at a point that they're not going to be here at some point. Sorry.
All right.
Thanks. And it is hard, to have that thought. And I think, I know what's coming, and I think as I've gotten older, I've started to understand more how big it is, how can I say, I think this what some people can't maybe relate to at my age, maybe they're thinking about getting married, or like buying a house with someone and starting that life, and thinking of like maybe like I want to have like kids soon, or that's like the life plan. And to think that that's the first time that they're going to have to be like responsible for someone else. But it's like I might already have, like I already have that, maybe not right now, but I know like in the back of my mind that like I am going to be responsible for Ben like at a point, and which is completely fine. And like I know like when it's my time, like I will like step into that role. Yeah, because I wouldn't want like anything to happen to him, and like I'd want the best for him. Yeah, so it's just knowing. I don't know if I've just taken on or thought about it too early, but I think as well another reason why I'm thinking about like my career prospects and like where I want to go in life as well is that I'm always in the back of my mind thinking like I want like a good job, so that if anything were to happen like to Ben and stuff, like it's not just me that I need to think about now. Like I've got someone else to think about. Like if he ever needed anything, that I would be able to like support him in that way. And I think like, because I really hope one day that I'd be able to have like a family of my own and stuff. And it's about like, I'm already starting to think like how am I going to balance that? Like it's not just like my sole focus isn't just like, say for example I were to have like a husband and kids, like it's not just that. It would be like, okay, I've got Ben and I've got all these other people as well. So I think for me like an important decision would be like that potential person that I would be with, they would need to know that like what I'm not gonna have to face, that makes it sound bad, but like what support I would need to give to him is something that they would need to support me with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I need someone who's gonna like help me with it.
I think it's part of the building the family, I guess, that person will need to count. It will need to come into that project. It's like that's kind of like a personal project at the moment. You will build your family, which is another project between you two, and then I guess that Ben's project will come up together. Project. It needs to be part of your family, and then that person needs to be involved somehow. You cannot just put it aside, I guess.
Needs to be flexible and supportive and all that sort of jazz, so that you can provide him with support, and then you have support yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I suppose is it kind of like a bit of a pressure that maybe you feel to try and make that dynamic work? Yeah. And it kind of because it's always on your mind, sort of thing. You know. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. Like always on my mind as well, because I'm always thinking as well, like how would that like alter like that potential dynamic and things, and how would they fit into my family situation. But it's just I know I can do it, like I know I'm gonna do it like when my time comes, but it's just like I want to make sure that I'm in the best possible place for me personally. Like I've got all my stuff sorted, that I can be like, okay, like I know what's needed of me, and I'm ready to now take it on. But it is a lot. Well, I can tell that Ben is very lucky, because you obviously love him very much, and we can see that.
Yeah, I do.
We can see that.
I think like when you build a family with someone, and I think we are parents, probably we can take you from there. And we have parents in the other side of the cameras. Like when you build a family with someone, I guess that person needs to be there for the goods and the bads. I mean, I think my sister has a saying that to go for beers with people is really easy. It's not that easy when it's like with the difficult times. And really build a family is with a person that goes there for the goods and the bads, and the difficult moments and the easy moments, and you need to balance it up. It's not always the jolly. So I'm sure that you will find a person that is like, look at me, I love you, and this is how it is, no matter what comes ahead. We will face it together.
It's always
and I
about.
think this is how it should be.
Yeah, it's about learning as you go along as well. My father, when he found out that I was going to have a boy, the first thing he said is, "There's no such thing as a professional parent." So there's no such thing as someone that can just do it. You have to just sort of go along the journey. You're allowed to make mistakes because you certainly learn from them. or I have. When I've made mistakes, I've learned not to do that again. And I think that's it. It's just a journey, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Right. So thank you for that.
That's okay.
I know you're put you on the spot.
No, that's fine.
Right, ladies, what would you tell? We need advice now. We are arriving to the end, and we normally close with like a quote and advice to people. So we need advice for those siblings that they are listening to us in the other side of the podcast, and they are thinking like, oh wow, I'm in this situation, or wow, I'm thinking like that, or they are a little bit like overwhelmed with all this autistic situation, or the sibling with autism, and then all the difficulties and joys that come along. What would you tell them? What would you tell to those siblings?
I would tell them to find out what your sibling is interested in, and understand them, and just follow on of what they want to do, and listen to them and what they need, so you can help them out and understand where they're coming from.
That's great.
Maybe.
I feel like mine is a bit similar to yours. Like, I would say, because I think now as well, especially because there's more awareness and things about it, that when maybe people hear the word autism and stuff, that a lot comes to their head. But I would say maybe see through the label, and just get to know, it's sort of similar to what you were saying, get to know them as a person. Don't focus on the label. They are their own person, and they're not their label. It might contribute some of the difficulties that they may have, but doesn't make them any less of a person at all. But yeah.
Good. And if we go to the wider community, so remember that we have professionals, parents. We don't know who is hearing. I will tell you the countries that they listen to us across the board. So to everybody that is out there, what would you tell them? What would you want to tell them? Like a message or something that you want them to see, I get that.
It's a really good question, isn't it?
Maybe don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh, that was a good one.
Good phrase.
Yeah.
Good phrase. Good phrase.
Spot on. We're only 10 years old. Yes, spot on, ladies and gentlemen.
That was really good.
Well, thank you.
That's a good one. Yes. Anything to add?
Oh God, how am I going to follow that?
I know what to say.
Say it.
Say it.
Don't. Wait, what was I going to say?
I think there is people their teachers, their parents that they might struggle now, finding a diagnosis, it's all this community out there.
It's always about their personality, not how they look like. That's not how they act, or not how they have special needs.
We love them for who they are, not for what they do.
Yeah.
Right, so with this message, I think it's time to close.
Cool, no worries.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much, guys.
So we close here. Thank you for being with us, and then till the next one,
Stay on the spectrum.